The wind blew cold through the broken streets of the alien colony. Shadows stretched long over the ruins, and silence filled the air like a heavy blanket. Only the crunch of boots echoed as a lone human walked down the road. He was a traveler, a stranger to this land, and yet whispers had already reached his ears. Whispers of something strange, something feared. "Stay away from her," the voices had warned. "Her hunger will take you too." He did not understand what they meant, but the warning stayed in his mind as he moved deeper into the empty streets. Houses stood abandoned, windows shattered, doors broken. A place that once had life now looked like a graveyard. The alien colony had been destroyed years ago by war and famine, yet some still lived here, hiding in the shadows, clinging to survival. As he passed a crumbling wall, he noticed marks scratched into the stone. The same word written again and again in the alien language. He had learned enough of their script to understand one word. Hunger. The human frowned. What kind of fear was this? Hunger was normal, everyone needed food. But the way it was carved with such desperation told him this was not ordinary hunger. This was something more, something darker. He kept walking, his hand resting on the strap of his bag. Inside was simple food, bread, dried meat, water, nothing special, but in a ruined colony, such food was more precious than gold. Suddenly he froze. A sound drifted through the air. Faint but clear, it was not the cry of an animal, not the howl of the wind. It was a voice, soft, trembling. "Please." He turned his head sharply. The sound came from a dark alley to his right. For a moment he considered leaving. The villagers had warned him. They spoke of a cursed girl, one who carried endless hunger inside her. They said she devoured anyone foolish enough to go near. But the human was not one to turn away from a cry. He stepped carefully into the alley. His boots crunched against broken stone. His eyes scanned the shadows. There in the corner sat a figure, small and fragile. She was curled up against the wall, arms wrapped around her knees. Her skin was pale with strange glowing lines running faintly across it. Her hair hung loose and messy. Her eyes glowed faint gold, and they locked onto him the moment he appeared. He felt a shiver run down his spine. Those eyes were not normal. They carried hunger so deep it seemed endless. A hunger that could not be satisfied. The girl tilted her head, her lips parted, and her voice cracked. "Food. Please." He stood frozen, torn between caution and pity. She looked no older than a child, maybe 14 by human measure. Yet the weight in her eyes spoke of endless suffering. Every instinct told him to run, to listen to the villagers. Yet his hand moved on its own. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small piece of bread. The girl's eyes widened. Her glowing pupils shrank and her body trembled. She stared at the bread as if it were the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. He stepped closer, slowly, carefully. His heart pounded. He could feel danger in the air, like a storm ready to break, but something about her stopped him from turning back. He crouched down and extended the bread. The girl did not move at first. Her breathing grew heavy, sharp. As if she fought against herself, she whispered, "No. If I eat, you will fear me. You will run." Her words made him pause. What did she mean? Then her hunger overwhelmed her fear. With trembling hands, she reached forward and took the bread. She held it as if afraid it would vanish. She brought it close to her lips and took the smallest bite. The human expected her to attack, to snatch more, to lunge at him like the rumors claimed. But instead, tears rolled down her cheeks. Her lips quivered as she chewed slowly, carefully, almost reverently. The sound of footsteps echoed at the far end of the alley. Harsh voices followed. "Is she there?" "Did you hear her voice?" The girl froze, terror flooding her golden eyes. She looked at the human desperately, as if begging him not to leave. The voices grew louder. The villagers were searching, hunting. The human realized the truth in that instant. They were not protecting themselves from her. They were chasing her. They wanted her gone. And now he was the one standing between them and the girl with the hunger. The human stood frozen in the narrow alley, the sound of boots echoing closer. The girl with glowing eyes clutched the bread tightly in her trembling hands. She looked torn between fear and desperation, her lips shaking as she held the piece near her mouth. The voices outside grew louder. "Search every corner." "She must be here," another voice barked. "Do not look into her eyes. Do not let her touch you." The human felt the girl's gaze on him. Sharp and pleading, she whispered so softly it was almost a breath. "If I eat, you will see. You will know what I am." He hesitated. Fear gnawed at him. But he had already taken the step others would not. He had already offered her food. Running now would not erase that choice. The girl finally took a small bite. Her sharp teeth sank into the bread. Not savage, not wild, but gentle, as if she feared breaking the gift too quickly. She chewed slowly, her eyes locked on him the whole time. Nothing happened at first. No attack, no scream. No monster leaping from her skin. Instead, something strange filled the air. The human felt a shift, as though the space around them grew warmer, lighter. His heartbeat slowed, his body felt less heavy. The girl closed her eyes as she swallowed. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She whispered, This is not just food. It is kindness." The human blinked, confused. He had expected danger, but what he saw was sorrow mixed with gratitude. The villager's words echoed in his mind. Monster, cursed, dangerous. Yet the girl looked more like a starving soul than a threat. Suddenly, the shadows at the alley's mouth flickered. 2 men stepped inside, their weapons raised. They froze when they saw the scene. The girl sitting against the wall with bread in her hands, and the human crouched near her. "Step away," one of them shouted, his voice shaking. "She'll drain you, fool. She'll consume you before you know it." The human did not move. He placed his hand calmly on the ground. Showing no weapon. "She's just eating," he said. "She's starving, nothing more." The men exchanged nervous looks. "That's how it starts," one muttered. "She lures you with innocence, then feeds on your soul." The girl flinched at their words, her body shaking. She pressed her forehead to her knees and whispered, "I don't want to hurt anyone. I only wanted to live." The human saw the truth in her trembling form. He stood slowly, shielding her with his body. His voice was steady, though his heart raced. "If she is a danger, then why is she crying? Why is she begging for scraps of bread instead of taking my life right now?" The hunters hesitated. One lowered his weapon slightly, but the other snarled, "Don't be fooled, human. Her hunger has no end." Behind him, the girl raised her head. Her golden eyes glowed brighter, but this time not with hunger. With determination, she spoke clearly. "I will show you." Before the human could stop her, she reached out and touched his hand. A surge of warmth spread through him. His lungs filled as if a heavy weight had been lifted. His old aches faded. The scar on his arm burned and then softened. For a heartbeat he felt renewed. Stronger, clearer. He gasped, pulling his hand back. The hunters stared wide-eyed. Confused, one muttered, "What did she do?" The girl lowered her hand slowly, her voice trembling. "I feed on sorrow, pain, despair. It is true, my hunger never ends. But when I take those things, I can give something back." She looked at the human with eyes that glistened with tears. "You gave me bread, I gave you strength. That is the truth of my hunger." The alley fell silent. Even the hunters seemed unsure now. The human's breath shook, but he stood taller, his voice carrying weight. "Then maybe what you all feared was never her curse, but your own ignorance." The men exchanged uneasy glances, then backed away, muttering curses under their breath. Their boots echoed as they retreated, but their fear still lingered in the air. The girl clutched the bread tighter, staring at the human as if he were a puzzle she could not solve. She whispered, "You should fear me, but you don't. Why?" He looked down at her, his voice low but steady. "Because hunger is not evil, pain is not evil. What you do with it is what matters." For a long moment, the girl said nothing. Her glowing eyes softened, her trembling slowed. She took another bite of the bread, this time without hesitation, and when she smiled faintly through her tears, it was the first fragile smile she had shown in years. But in the shadows beyond the alley, another pair of eyes was watching. Someone else had seen what happened, and this time the danger would not be so quick to walk away. The night grew deeper, the ruined colony sinking into silence once again. The human sat across from the alien girl near the faint glow of a small fire he had built. The bread was gone now, every crumb carefully eaten by her trembling hands, but her glowing eyes still fixed on him, not with hunger alone, but with something different. For the first time since he had seen her, she looked less like a monster and more like a lost child. She whispered softly, "No one ever gave me food before. They only threw stones, chains, or poisoned scraps." Her fingers traced the dirt as she spoke, leaving faint glowing marks that faded quickly. "But you gave it as a gift." The human leaned forward, his voice low. "Food should not be poisoned. It is meant to give life, not fear." The girl stared at him for a long time, her golden eyes reflecting the firelight. Then slowly, she stretched out her hand toward him again. He stiffened, remembering the warmth that had rushed into him when she had touched him before. "I must give something back," she whispered, "my hunger. It is not only to take if I feed willingly. I can return what I take." Before he could answer, her fingers brushed his wrist. A pulse of warmth traveled through his veins, stronger than before. He gasped as the firelight seemed to brighten around him. His fatigue vanished. The dull ache of old scars eased. His breath felt fuller. The girl's voice was soft, almost trembling. "I took a little of your pain, and I gave you strength. That is my gift in return." He looked down at her hand, still glowing faintly where it touched him. He could feel her energy like a heartbeat against his skin for a moment. Fear whispered in the back of his mind. What if she took too much? What if her hunger swallowed him whole? But the fear faded when he looked at her face. Her expression was not cruel, not greedy, but desperate to prove herself. The human said quietly, "This is what they fear? That you take sorrow and give back healing?" She withdrew her hand quickly, clutching it to her chest. "They do not understand. When my kind loses control when we are starved, the hunger twists. It makes us take without giving. That is why they fear me. That is why they call me cursed." Her words hung in the air like a shadow. He felt the weight of them. He understood now why the villagers had hunted her. Not because she was cruel, but because they had only seen the hunger, never the gift. The fire crackled softly, but beyond the warmth, the night carried a different sound. Somewhere in the ruins, faint footsteps shifted, watching, waiting. The human noticed but said nothing. He wanted her to speak more, to open the truth hidden inside her. She looked at him again, her eyes sharp yet wet with tears. "Do you regret giving me food? Do you regret touching me?" He shook his head slowly. No, her lips parted in surprise, as if she had not expected such an answer. For a moment, she seemed to forget the world around her. Her small smile was fragile, a smile of someone who had never been trusted before. But the moment broke quickly. A sound came from the dark edge of the ruins, a voice low and cruel. "So it is true she feeds on sorrow, and now she has found a fool to protect her." The human rose to his feet, his eyes searching the shadows. From the broken wall stepped a man draped in heavy cloth, his eyes cold. He carried no torch, but the firelight caught the edge of a weapon at his side. The girl shrank back instantly, fear flashing across her face. "Him, he is one of the hunters," the man's eyes fixed on her like a predator. "You should have died long ago, little hunger-bearer. You should not be allowed to live." The human placed himself between the stranger and the girl. "She is not what you say. She can heal. She gave me strength." The hunter spat on the ground. "That is the trick. She gives only to take more later. I have seen her kind. They drain villages dry. They leave nothing but corpses." The girl's hand shook. She whispered, "That is not me. I never wanted that." The hunter raised his weapon, the blade catching firelight. "Your wants do not matter. Hunger always wins." The human's voice hardened. "Not this time." The air grew tense, the crackle of the fire the only sound between them. Then suddenly the girl stepped forward, her small hand pressing against the human's back. "Let me help," she whispered. "I will give you more strength. You cannot fight him alone." He turned his head slightly. Meeting her glowing eyes, he saw no malice there, only a plea to prove she was not a curse. He nodded once. She pressed harder, energy flooding into him. His heart thundered as his limbs felt stronger than steel. His vision sharpened, the fear in his chest burned into courage. The hunter paused, his eyes narrowing. For the first time he looked unsure. The girl whispered into the night, her voice like a promise. "He gave me food. I give him back everything I can. That is my gift. That is who I am." The hunter's grip tightened on his weapon, but doubt flickered in his eyes. The human stepped forward, his voice steady. "Then tonight you will see her truth." And the ruined colony held its breath, waiting for the clash to come. The hunter's blade gleamed in the firelight. His eyes locked on the human standing in front of the alien girl. The broken walls around them seemed to lean in, trapping the three figures in a moment of tension. The girl's trembling hand pressed against the human's back, her glowing eyes wide with fear. The hunter spat on the ground, his voice sharp. "You think you can protect her? You are a fool, human. Do you know how many lives her kind has ruined?" The human did not move. His voice was calm but firm. "I know what I saw. She took my pain and gave me strength. She is not a monster. The hunter's face twisted in anger. That is how it begins. They trick you. They feed little by little until nothing is left. The girl shook her head quickly, her voice breaking. No, I never wanted to hurt anyone. Please believe me. The hunter raised his blade higher, but before he could strike, distant shouts echoed through the ruins. More voices, more footsteps. The human turned his head slightly. He saw torches approaching, their flames flickering in the night. The hunters were not alone, a whole band was closing in. The girl's grip on his shirt tightened. She whispered urgently, "We must run, they will not listen." They never listen. The human's jaw clenched. He wanted to stand and fight, but the truth was clear. One hunter was dangerous enough. A group of them would mean certain death. He reached for the girl's hand and pulled her up. "Move," he said firmly. They ran, their boots hitting broken stone and scattered rubble. The girl's glowing eyes lit the dark path ahead. Behind them, angry voices rose. "There! Don't let them escape!" The chase began. The ruined colony twisted into a maze of shattered walls and fallen towers. The human led the girl through narrow passages, ducking under collapsed beams, leaping over broken stones. Torches flared behind them. Shadows stretched long. The hunters moved like hounds, their voices barking orders. "Cut them off! Block the street!" The girl stumbled once, her breath sharp. The human caught her arm and pulled her forward. "Keep going. Don't stop." Her voice shook as she whispered, "They will not stop until I am dead." He looked at her, her pale face glowing faintly. "Then we won't stop either." The path opened into a wide street, lit faintly by moonlight. The colony's main square stretched ahead, cracked statues and broken fountains scattered across it. The human knew it was dangerous, too open, too easy for the hunters to surround them, but there was no other way. They ran across the square, their footsteps echoing. And then, from the shadows, hunters emerged, cutting off the far side. Their torches blazed, their weapons raised. The girl gasped, pulling back in terror. The human scanned quickly. His eyes caught a narrow stairwell leading down into the ruins, half hidden by rubble. "This way," he said, pulling her along. They slipped into the stairwell just as arrows clattered against the stone behind them. The girl's breath came fast, her voice trembling. "Why do you protect me? You could leave, you could save yourself." The human didn't slow. His voice was steady. "Because no one else will. Because you deserve more than chains and death." For a moment she stared at him as they ran, her eyes shining not only with hunger but with something new, trust. The stairwell opened into the lower levels of the colony. A labyrinth of tunnels stretched out before them. Dark and damp, their footsteps echoed against the stone. The girl's glow faintly lit the path, guiding them deeper. But the hunters were relentless. Their torches soon flickered at the tunnel's mouth. Their shouts carried through the stone halls. "They went down! Don't let them escape!" The girl stumbled again, her legs weak from exhaustion. The human caught her, his voice urgent. "Stay with me, you can't stop now." Tears streaked her cheeks. "They will catch us, they always do." The human shook his head. "Not tonight." They pressed deeper into the tunnels. The air grew colder, the walls narrower. Behind them, the hunters' voices grew louder, their boots clanging against stone. The chase thundered through the ruins, predator and prey locked in a desperate race. Finally, they reached a dead end. The human cursed under his breath. The tunnel ended in a wall of stone, cracked but unbroken. The girl's eyes widened in terror. "It is over," she whispered. "They will take me. You should leave." But the human's gaze swept across the wall. His hand pressed against the cracks. He felt a faint draft. "No, it isn't over." With a grunt, he pushed against the stone. The cracks widened, and part of the wall shifted. Dust fell, revealing a narrow passage just big enough to slip through. He turned to the girl. "Go now." She hesitated, her glowing eyes trembling. "Why do you not fear me?" His voice was firm. "Because I see you. Not the curse they fear." Her lips trembled, but she nodded and slipped through the gap. The human followed, pulling rubble across the entrance just as the hunters' torches flared around the corner. Shouts filled the tunnel, but the hunters had lost their prey. The human and the girl pressed deeper into the secret passage, the sound of pursuit fading behind them. For now they were safe, but both knew the hunt was far from over. The girl clutched his sleeve, her voice soft but steady. "You should not have stayed with me, but you did. You gave me food. You gave me hope. The human looked down at her, his breath heavy but his resolve firm. And I will keep giving. Until the world sees you for who you are. The chase had begun. But so had something greater, a bond stronger than fear. The hidden passage opened into a wide cavern. The ceiling stretched high, lined with broken stone pillars that hinted at some ancient hall now buried beneath the colony. The human guided the girl forward, their footsteps echoing softly. Behind them, the hunters' voices faded into the distance, but the tension in the air remained. The girl sank down against a pillar, her chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly, exhaustion written across her face. She clutched the last crumbs of bread in her hand, as if holding on to more than food, as if holding on to hope itself. The human crouched beside her, placing his bag down. His voice was steady but gentle. We should rest here for a while. They will keep searching. But this place will hide us, she looked at him, her lips trembling. You should leave me. They will not stop, not until I am gone, if you stay with me. They will hunt you too, he shook his head. I already made my choice. Her golden eyes shimmered with something between disbelief and gratitude. For a moment silence stretched between them, broken only by the drip of water in the cavern. Then finally she whispered, You gave me food, you gave me trust. Now I will give you truth. The human leaned forward. Listening carefully, the girl hugged her knees, her voice low and heavy with memory. My kind was born with hunger inside us. Not for food, not for flesh, but for pain. Despair, sorrow, we draw it in, and if fed gently, we turn it into healing. Into strength, that is the gift, but the curse is this: if we starve. If we are hated, the hunger twists. It grows sharp, wild. It makes us take without giving. And that is what they saw, that is why they fear us. Her fingers dug into her arms, her glowing lines pulsing faintly. When I was small, they chained me. They gave me poisoned food. They shouted that I was cursed. They beat me so I would never forget. My hunger grew wild, I could not stop it. I hurt them, I never wanted to. But I did. After that, they called me monster. They hunted me. Tears rolled down her cheeks, her voice breaking. I did not choose this. I did not want to be born with this hunger, but no one ever gave me a chance. The human felt a weight in his chest. He had seen cruelty before, in war and famine, in the way fear twisted good people into something cruel. But hearing her story lit a fire inside him. He spoke firmly. You are not the curse. You are the proof that kindness changes everything. The girl looked at him as if she wanted to believe, as if those words were the first light in years of darkness. But then a sound echoed faintly through the cavern, a distant rumble. The human's eyes narrowed. He recognized it, torches and boots against stone. The hunters were spreading out, searching the tunnels above. It was only a matter of time before they found this place. The girl hugged herself tighter, her voice soft and frightened. They will never let me live, they will always chase me, no matter what I do. The human crouched in front of her, meeting her glowing eyes directly. Then let them see the truth. You are not a monster, you are a healer. If they cannot see it now, we will make them see. Her lips parted. Her trembling slowing, she whispered, Why do you believe so much? Everyone else ran from me, he answered simply. Because I saw the moment you ate, you cried. Monsters do not cry, the girl's breath hitched. And for the first time she laughed softly, broken but real. Her tears sparkled in the glow of her golden eyes. They sat there in silence for a while, the fire between them small but warm. Then the girl reached out carefully, touching his hand again. This time the warmth flowed steadier, stronger. His muscles relaxed, his mind cleared, and his old scars burned as though years of pain were being washed away. She whispered, I took more of your sorrow. I gave you more strength, but I must warn you. If I take too much, I will lose myself. You must stop me if that happens. He held her hand firmly, shaking his head. I trust you. Her eyes widened, shimmering. She pressed her forehead against his arm as if clinging to that word. Trust, she repeated. That is the food I never had. But the peace was broken again. A loud shout thundered through the cavern from above. Torches flared in the cracks of the ceiling. Shadows moved across the stone. The hunters were closing in. The human stood quickly, gripping his bag. His eyes turned to the girl. We move now, stay close. She nodded, her fear still strong but steadied by his voice. As they ran deeper into the cavern, she whispered again, I gave you my truth. But there is more if you stay with me. You will see what my hunger really means. The human glanced at her, his jaw set. Then show me. I will face it with you. And together they ran into the dark. Their bond no longer one of fear and pity, but of shared resolve. Behind them, the hunters shouted, their rage filling the night. But for the first time, the girl did not tremble alone. She had someone beside her, someone who believed. The tunnel shook with the hunters' voices. Their torches glowed above like angry stars in the cracks of the ceiling. The human led the girl deeper into the cavern. His hand gripping hers tightly, she stumbled but did not let go. Her glowing eyes flickered with fear, yet also with something stronger, hope. They reached a wide chamber, half collapsed. Broken statues scattered across the floor. The human knew there was no way forward, only a wall of rock blocking the far side. Behind them, footsteps grew louder. The hunters were close. The girl's breath came fast. It is over, she whispered. They will take me. They will kill you. The human shook his head firmly, his voice steady. Not while I stand. A dozen torches spilled into the chamber. Shadows leapt across the stone walls as the hunters surrounded them. Blades and spears glinted. Their leader stepped forward, the same man who had first confronted them. His face was twisted in anger. You cannot hide her forever, he shouted. She is a curse, she will consume you. And then us all. The girl trembled, clutching the human's sleeve. Her voice cracked. They will not stop, they never will. The human stood tall, raising his voice so it echoed through the cavern. She is not a curse, she heals. She gives back what she takes. If you saw her truth, you would know it, the hunters only sneered. One spat on the ground. Lies, the leader raised his blade. Stand aside, human, or die with her. The girl stepped forward suddenly, her small frame shaking. Her golden eyes burned brighter. Her voice rang out. Then take me if it is my death you want. Then I will not let him fall for me. The human turned in shock. No. But before he could stop her, she released his hand and walked into the circle of hunters. The glow of her body grew stronger, her veins shining like fire beneath her skin. The hunters hesitated, lowering their weapons in confusion. What is she doing? One whispered. The leader snarled. It is another trick, kill her. But before they could strike, the girl raised her arms. A wave of light burst from her body. It was not blinding, but heavy, pressing into the hearts of all who stood nearby. The hunters froze as the fire in their eyes dimmed. Their rage, their hatred, their thirst for violence drained away. One by one they staggered, dropping weapons, clutching their chests. The human felt it too. His anger, his fear, even his sorrow pulled from him like threads unraveling. His chest felt hollow for a moment. Then warmth returned, stronger, steady. He realized what she was doing. She was feeding on their fury, their hate, their despair. But it was too much. Her body shook violently, the glow burning brighter than ever. Cracks of light split across her skin. She gasped in pain, falling to her knees. The human's heart pounded. He rushed forward, catching her as she collapsed. Her voice was weak, trembling. Too much. Too many emotions. I cannot hold it all. Her glow flickered wildly, threatening to burst. He held her close, shouting, Stay with me, do not give up. Her tears glowed as they rolled down her cheeks. Why did you give me food? Why did you stay? I will only destroy everything. The human's voice broke, but his grip was firm. Because you gave me something greater than fear. You gave me hope. He pressed his forehead against hers, his voice steady even as his chest ached. If you must feed, then take from me. Take my pain, take my sorrow. I give it freely. Her glowing hands clutched his arms. She gasped as energy flowed between them. His memories of loss, of hardship, of loneliness poured into her. She trembled, but slowly, the wild cracks of light began to soften. Her glow steadied, dimming from blinding fire to gentle warmth. The hunters stared, stunned, weapons forgotten at their feet. They had seen her not as a monster, but as a girl who bore the weight of endless hunger, a girl who chose sacrifice instead of destruction. The girl collapsed fully into the human's arms. Weak but alive, her voice barely more than a whisper. Why do you give so much for me? He held her close, his answer soft but strong. Because you are worth it. Silence filled the cavern, broken only by the drip of water. The hunters lowered their heads, shaken by what they had witnessed. Some stepped back, guilt heavy in their eyes. Their leader's blade fell from his hand, clattering against the stone. The girl's glow faded to a faint shimmer. Her eyes fluttered open. She looked at the human, her lips forming one last word before she fell into sleep. Hope. He carried her carefully, standing tall despite his exhaustion. His voice carried across the chamber, firm and unyielding. She is not your curse, she is your cure, and if you cannot see that, then leave. She will not face your hate again. The hunters, shaken and silent, slowly retreated. Their torches vanished into the tunnels one by one, leaving the cavern dark except for the faint glow of the girl in the human's arms. For now they were safe, but the human knew this was not the end. He looked down at her fragile face, whispering to himself, "You gave them your strength, and nearly lost yourself, but I will not let the world take you again." The cavern was quiet once more, but the bond between them had grown unbreakable, forged in sacrifice and trust. The cavern lay silent after the hunters retreated. Only the faint glow of the girl's body lit the darkness. Her breathing was shallow, her face pale. She rested in the human's arms like a fragile flame, barely holding on. The human sat against a broken pillar, holding her carefully. His eyes stayed fixed on the shadows where the hunters had vanished. But no one returned. The air was calm now, but heavy, as if the world itself held its breath. Slowly the girl stirred. Her glowing eyes opened weakly. Shimmering with exhaustion, she whispered, "Why, did you stop them?" "They will only return, they always return." The human looked down at her, his voice steady. "Let them return next time. They will not face fear. They will face truth." Her lips trembled as if she wanted to argue, but instead she pressed her forehead against his chest. Tears slipped down her cheeks, glowing faintly. "You gave me food. You gave me hope. No one has ever done that." He brushed a strand of messy hair from her face. "And you gave me something greater in return." For a while, silence held them both. The cavern's water dripped in a steady rhythm, almost like the heartbeat of the earth itself. At last the human rose, lifting her gently in his arms. "Come, we cannot stay here, we must go back." The girl's eyes widened, fear flashing again. "Back to them? They will never accept me." He shook his head firmly. "Not if they see you as hunger, but if they see you as healer, they will have no choice." She looked at him with disbelief, her voice barely a whisper. "And if they do not?" He smiled faintly, though his eyes carried fire. "Then I will stand beside you until they do." They climbed the hidden tunnel slowly. The girl leaned against him, her glow dim but steady. When they finally stepped into the open square of the colony, dawn was breaking. The sun's first light spread across the broken buildings, turning the ruins golden. The hunters and villagers stood gathered there, torches lowered, weapons silent. They had waited, unsure of what would happen. Gasps filled the crowd as they saw her, the girl glowing faintly in the human's arms. Alive, not wild, not cursed. The human's voice rang across the square, calm yet unyielding. "You feared her hunger. You chained her, you hunted her. But she is not your doom. She is your cure. Last night she took your hate, your rage, your despair. She nearly died carrying it. And still she gave you back peace." The villagers shifted uneasily. Whispers rose. Some lowered their eyes in shame. A few even stepped forward, not with weapons, but with tears. The girl stirred weakly, opening her glowing eyes. She looked at them all and whispered, "I do not want to hurt you, I never did. I only wanted to live." Her words cut through the square like light through fog. Children peeked from behind their mothers, seeing not a monster but a girl, fragile and trembling. One old villager stepped forward, dropping his cane to the ground. His voice cracked, "My pain in my chest. It has been with me for years. If you are truly healer, then show me." The human looked at the girl gently. "Show them." With trembling hands she reached out. Her glowing fingers touched the old man's hand. For a moment light passed between them. His eyes widened, his body straightened. He gasped, clutching his chest, then smiled with tears. "The pain. It is gone." The crowd erupted in whispers, fear melting into awe. The girl drew her hand back quickly, shy and exhausted, her voice soft. "This is my gift. If you let me live." The human stood tall, his voice carrying across the ruins. "You feared her hunger, but it is kindness that feeds her. Not hate. If you give her trust, she will give you back life." Silence fell, broken only by the first cry of a bird in the morning sky. Then slowly villagers lowered their weapons. One by one, some even knelt, heads bowed. The girl stared at them with disbelief, her tears glowing. They believe?" The human smiled faintly. "Not all, not yet. But belief begins here." The hunters stepped back, their leader still holding guilt in his eyes. He dropped his blade to the ground. Turning away without a word, the fight was gone from him, replaced with something heavier, shame. The human set the girl gently on her feet. She swayed but stood. Her glowing eyes looked up at the sky as the sun rose higher. For the first time, the warmth touched her face, not with fear, but with peace. She whispered softly, "The hunger is still inside me, it always will be, but now." "I am not alone," the human nodded, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "No, you are not. You will never be again." Together they stood in the morning light. The ruins no longer seemed like a graveyard, but the beginning of something new, a new dawn where fear gave way to trust, where a human and a girl once hunted could change an entire world. And in that golden light her faint smile returned, no longer broken but whole,